Good evening, good evening. This is one of the best shows coming up tonight. This is the Black Star Still Rising. And I am your host and executive producer, Stephen Black Butterfly Silver Carter. And we're going to have a dynamite show, but I'm going to do some other things, but I'm going to introduce this beautiful young lady next to me in a minute. And you're going to see why I'm excited about this show more than any other that I've done. So get your pencil and paper out, folks. There must be some things that you need to write down, but let me do the normal shout-outs. I always have to have a shout-out to our studio producers, Emmanuel and Rocio. Thank you for being the producers that you are and making us look good all the time. I also have to give a shout-out to the associate producers. That's Dr. Mike Washington and Ellis Taylor. They help put this together and let you know what's coming and to bring our guest on. Now, today I have with me Little Miss, I shouldn't say Little Miss, Harper Camille Harris. This happens to be my granddaughter, all right. But she's more than talented. She has some interesting things she's going to share with us. And I'm going to say a few other things first before we get right into it. Black Star Still Rising is because of the Black Star Project and its founder. And this is a tribute to the founder, Philip Jackson. And it's also a tribute to the executive director of the Black Star Project, and that's Ms. Gloria Smith. So, Gloria, thank you for being the sponsor for having Black Star Project, the sponsor for Black Star Still Rising. Now, I want to get into the show, and you might think it's strange why I'll have such a young person talking about something like DEI. And DEI, what's the other name that you have to it at St. Ignatius? Is
Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging.
Say that again. For a lot of folks, DEI, say it again for them.
DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and at my school we have another added acronym, Belonging.
Well, tell us first of all, tell our audience a little bit about you, your background, especially now in high school, but tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Harper. I'm a junior at St. Ignatius College Prep, which is not too far from the studio here. Mm-hmm. I enjoy cross country. I'm involved in clubs such as Ethics Bowl and debate, and I'm also very fond of theater and improv. So.
Tell me about the theater, the program that you were in a few months ago, that grand theater that St. Ignatius has.
Oh, yeah.
What was the name of the play, by the way?
Into the Woods.
Yes.
Into the Woods. Our school, the Harley Quinns, is our theater troupe, and we put on a production of Into the Woods. It was so fun.
Who wrote that? It was a famous alumni who, was that Bob Newhart?
Who wrote
for the play?
No, I don't.
Who was it? I lost track. That's all right. We'll go on.
Okay.
Tell us about two programs that you're involved with. BOSS is one. Tell us what BOSS stands for.
BOSS is one of the clubs at St. Ignatius. It stands for Black Organization of Successful Students.
Oh, they're anticipating that you're going to be successful, all because you come out of St. Ignatius and they bring in very successful students. But go ahead.
Yeah. We work together to sponsor a bunch of, and organize and sponsor events. For example, we in the spring we invited an artist.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
To
talk about your what were they
to teach collages and focus on Black artists, specifically Black artists who muralists in different cities across America. So.
That was an exciting thing because it was interactive.
Mm-hmm.
She got you doing some very interactive things, okay? But then let's get into, this is what I was intrigued about and why I recruited you to talk today about DEI. Tell us how you got into it and tell us about some of your experiences with DEI as a student, both your perspective and your experiences, okay?
Okay. When I was in middle school, I moved from a different state, actually. I used to live in Michigan, and in 5th grade I came here to Illinois, and it was a very rough transition already coming from another state to be like removed from the people I'd known for all my like developmental years. But transitioning here, additionally, I had to accommodate for coming into a mainly white school. And not only that, it was a private Catholic school, so I wasn't attuned to a lot of the norms at the school. And I
just interject a quick point, because it always not amazed me in a way, but the context. You said you was predominantly white school. There were, out of 900 students approximately, there were 4 black students, and 3 of the black students were my grandchildren.
yeah.
She and her 2 siblings
Yeah.
for almost the whole time. So that was an experience that we'll probably get into a little bit more and what you think about that. But go ahead and tell us about the DEI some more. And continue on what you were talking about, the transition from Detroit area to Chicago.
Yeah, like I said, it was very tough for me to have to adjust to all the. It was just very jarring to be in a space where I just felt very other and like I didn't belong. And so when I came to Ignatius, which has a much higher black population than my previous middle school did, I wanted to find a way to enforce, these values, diversity, equity, inclusion in the school still because of the experiences that shaped me in middle school.
It was an interesting thing you said about it in terms of freshmen coming in and how you viewed freshmen as not the most engaged into things like DE. Tell me a little bit about that as you view what challenges a freshman has coming into a school like that.
Yeah. The diversity coordinators who work alongside us at the Diversity Equity Inclusion Committee have noticed a couple trends in the past years of Ignatius. One being that freshmen are the most likely to be distanced from diversity, equity, inclusion, and be resistors and aggravators.
And why is that? What's your assessment of that or what they said about that?
I think a lot of it is maturity. Freshmen haven't gone through the whole process of high school yet, and so I think that can really change a person, especially when some kids may have had experiences like me where they went to majority all white, all Catholic schools, and so they were only taught a certain view, a certain perspective, and now going into high school they're forced to confront what that means.
And you also had mentioned to me when we were preparing for the show about, how would you put it, the narratives. There's different narratives that they have probably been in that you were not. And talk about that and what your experience was, the narratives that some of your other student body had.
Well, what I mean when I brought up narratives is that when you're younger, you're taught certain things about certain people, or you're taught certain aspects of history and not shown others, and that can leave blind spots and points of ignorance when you're becoming an adult or you're coming into high school for the first time and having to learn that your perspective is not the only perspective.
I thought one of the interesting things too, and I was somewhat surprised about the issue of hair and how that in other cultures, hair with black people is something they want to experience. Tell me about some of your experience, even with a teacher, right?
Yeah. When I was in 8th grade, I remember, because it was one of my favorite teachers actually, had come up to me, and that day I'd had my hair in an afro, and I had gotten a lot of compliments, and there was a lot of talk in the school, in the grade that day. And my teacher would come up to me like in the afternoon and was like, "Oh, wow, can I please touch your hair? Can I please pet your hair?"
What?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is that what your reaction was? Could you believe it that she wanted to touch you?
I kind of just like froze. I was like, more so because it was kind of like shocking that a teacher I had looked so fondly upon had like violated our relationship like that. I think it was kind of unprofessional to like ask your student if you could touch them, or not a great look.
And you've had some other, you told me about another experience where the young man, I guess you were at that time referred to as African American, and he said, what did he say about you?
I was doing a project about Malala Yousafzai, who is a women's rights activist, and I was talking about the education imbalance of women in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And after I'd like gone on my little spiel, he came up to me after and he looked at me very confused. He was like, "Are you African?" And I didn't get a chance to respond to him even because my teacher at the time, when I was in 6th grade, like grabbed him and said, "Meet me in the hallway now," and snatched him, took him to the hallway, and we all stood in the classroom, me and my classmates just kind of in silence, like in confusion, like,
What's happening out in the hallway with
Yikes.
the teacher and the young man who wondered if you were African? Did you
Yeah.
ask him, "Are you Irish?"
That's what I was saying. No, that's what I wanted to say, but I didn't get to respond.
That would have been a perfect comeback. Huh?
I know,
You
that's
think
what I
about
was
it
gonna
afterwards. Huh? But my guess is you're only talking about a few of the things where DEI comes into play. And you know, most of us think of DEI in terms of commerce and business, etc. How does it come into play in a school atmosphere? How do you see it coming in a school atmosphere?
Wait, can you rephrase the question a little bit?
Yes, DEI is most of the conversation is about business, diversity in business, equity in business, inclusion in business. Now in a school atmosphere, especially a high school atmosphere, how is that different? How does it apply those particular things, the diversity, inclusion, etc.?
I think diversity, equity, and inclusion work is very important, especially to kids in their formative years, and particularly in high school when you're using your critical thinking skills in ways you haven't before when you were younger, and finding ways to like analyze the world around you, because diversity, equity, inclusion are the foundations into creating empathy. And I think when we're shaping kids who are about to be adults who can vote and are going to be active citizens in the world, it's important that they have a natural sense of and a strong sense of empathy for the betterment of the world, really.
You use that term in prepping for this, and the term. How did you phrase it again? Not the belonging, but the other term that you were using before. I'm gonna get back to it because I missed it, and I don't want to miss that because that's a really important part of what we're talking about. Empathy.
Empathy?
Empathy. That's a strong word.
Yeah.
Empathy, and how it can be explained, how it can be practiced. How do you see that in your experiences at St. Ignatius of empathy being practiced and how others can learn empathy?
I think, like I was saying earlier on, we are taught only certain narratives or ideas about groups of people or aspects of history.
Mm-hmm.
And when you build that sense of empathy between others, especially people you may have not grown up with or you don't really understand, we can flesh out and paint the narrative to what it should be, the full picture. And I think that's super important, again, when we're living in a world where people have to, interact with each other. And I think it's important to have that sense of empathy.
Does that remove the other from the equation? When you were considered in many circumstances the other, but now if there's empathy, the other becomes you. You are part of the other. Is that part of what happens in a situation like you're in and what DEI does at St. Ignatius?
Yeah, I agree. In my freshman year, in one of my first diversity meetings, our school is very adamant about belonging and the idea of belonging. And one of our diversity coordinators gave an example of or a metaphor rather of humanity, and he described humanity as like the human body, and that everyone is like a part of the body, like the fingers, the eyes, the heart. And when everyone understands who they are, what they do, and their value first and foremost, then we create a fully functional human, or rather a fully functional humanity.
Now, you brought up an interesting point. If you had to do something, if you had the power and could go back to your grammar school where you were only 4 black students in the whole school, what kind of DEI would you try to instill in a school like that? How would you apply your experiences and then interface DEI with that?
You know, graduating from that school, my first thought was, I hope no other student had the same experience that I did when I was there. And I've always reflected, like, how can I be more active in that school community to make sure no one had the sense of otherness that I felt when I was younger. And I think DEI work is certainly work that's very difficult, or can be very difficult, very taxing, but I hope the school, my grade school that I went to, is able to build, again, that the foundations of empathy, the foundations of diversity, equity, and inclusion, to build a better, stronger community that is willing to work to understand each other and function better.
You know, the interesting part about that, too, is that word empathy is a Christian value. It's a Catholic value. But it's probably also a Muslim, Hindu, whatever denomination. That's a basic value in getting along with people or wanting to get along. You have to, see them not as other.
Right.
And if you were designing the course, would you talk about some of the things that you went to or see what they experienced that made them others? My guess is that the young man who asked, "Are you African?" Somebody might ask, "Are you Italian? Are you French?" or whatever, and how that made them feel. They have no idea how these things made you feel, did they?
No,
Yeah.
probably not, no.
What about how, I know one of the strengths that you had was your mom and dad, and when you brought these things home, what kind of things would they say to you, suggest to you in terms of coping?
I think my parents were very strong in, I guess, affirming my identity and affirming my value, and specifically my value of like being Black. And that's something, even though I was in a community where I couldn't really see that around me, that it was still important to who I am. And I think really knowing that, especially when I was younger, it was very important, very important to guiding who I am now.
Those sound based. We're going to take a quick second to make a commercial. We do this often. You need to know get your pencil and papers out there. You folks are out at the Senior Citizens Place on 79th and Gregier, and out at Crocs. Get your pencil and papers. But this is for a number of people. If you don't know it now, if you don't remember, this Saturday is Juneteenth, at least where we're celebrating Juneteenth, and Black Star is going to be celebrating with a Slam Bang program on Saturday, this coming Saturday, from 11 to 3 o'clock, 11 to 5 in the afternoon at the Black Star Project headquarters at 35th and King Drive, also known as Philip Jackson Parkway. Now, you should know that we're needing volunteers to help with the put up and breakdown of the exhibits there. So I've got a phone number for you. The number is 773-285-9600. I'm going to repeat that. 773-285-9600. And when you call there, you're going to ask either for Cortez Watson, you're going to ask for Julian Douglas. I mean, not Julian Douglas. You're going to ask for Mr. Douglas and Justin Douglas, and you're going to ask for Michael Roundtree. Any of those people, whoever answers the phone, will be able to give you information about the program, what's going to be happening. It's going to be food, drink, entertainment, spoken word, just a lot of things. And somebody told me that there are going to be some basketball hoops put around strategically.
Ooh.
And Grandpa was going to be able to practice his jump shot and see whether he still has a jump shot yet. So, Saturday, keep this in mind. Be prepared to go down to 35th and King Drive to the... You're not laughing about my jump shot, are you?
No.
You can't imagine that or what?
It's a little funny.
Why is that funny to you? You don't think the granddad had a jump shot at one time?
No, I've never seen you on the court, ever.
Now I'm embarrassed now. You can't imagine. Tennis court? No, not even that. Okay. Anyway, we're looking forward to having you folks out today. We want to talk about a few other things, too, and what's going to be happening with you in your career path. What are you thinking about doing after this base that you're building at St. Ignatius?
After I graduate high school, I'm really passionate about doing art as a career. And I want to get into fashion illustration, fashion design, construction, costuming, but also in the film and video game industry, concept art and character design. So a lot.
A lot to prepare yourself for career. And you're I can see you in fashion design because you are a fashionista, is that the correct term?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and it fits you too well. You always have something very mature, very exciting, very nice. Wherever you are, whatever the event, you always dress appropriately for the event. What else do you want to leave some of our viewers with, especially the younger viewers, with in terms of your experience and your perspective about DEI?
To the younger viewers, I'd say keep exploring, keep branching out into new communities, different friends, different neighborhoods, different areas, and by doing that, you're building not just empathy like we've spoken before, but just a better and bigger view of the world around you.
How much did theater and band and playing instruments shape your life and make it more exciting?
Oh, I think it shaped me a lot. I started drumming when I was 8, and still now I practice music, and I picked up other instruments like
the ukulele?
Ukulele.
Would you think ukulele, young black woman playing a ukulele? I got her a banjo, and I think she's going to play that one day too. But that's not what you normally would think of. You'd probably think clarinet, violin, but you and that ukulele and you doing that drum set, that was quite a sight for me to see. But you in theater. Theater, I think, was one of the most exciting things that I saw you do, because you had some roles back in grammar school in the Park District there. What was that role that you played that was a very important role? You had the lead.
Yeah, I had actually 2 leads. Most prominently, I was Belle in Beauty and the Beast, so that was really fun. I was also the Wicked Witch of the West.
Can't imagine you a Wicked Witch, but you played the part well.
Thank you.
I am so happy again to have my granddaughter here today. And you want to shout out to anybody? Mom, Dad, anybody? You get a chance to shout out.
Oh, Mom, Dad, any of my Chicago Nations friends watching? Hi, guys. I don't know.
Thank you all for coming in today, those who are watching. We've had here again Harper Harris, who has been talking about DEI, her experiences at St. Ignatius High School and her school in Glenview, Illinois, and what it means to be in a minority in an all-white environment, and what she took and what she's doing to make that a easy transition for folks who come behind you. Because you're going into your junior year, and that's going to be an exciting year because you're going to be an upperclassman now.
Yeah, I'll be a junior.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to say about else at St. Ignatius? Did we hit some of the high points?
Yeah, I think we've hit everything.
Okay, so I want to thank all our guests for coming out today. I hope you took pencil and paper. You know about this week, the Juneteenth at Black Star Project 35th and King Drive from 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you for being here today. And I'm your host, Stephen Silver Black Butterfly Carter. And again, we've had Harper Harris with us today. Thank you, Harper.
Thank you.